Welcome to Drummers Only Radio. Drummers Only is the UK's leading drum shop with store locations in Glasgow and Leeds. Our podcasts are full of interviews, gear reviews, and much more from the unique perspective of a drum shop. The show is hosted by two pasty Scottish dudes who talk real fast. Whoa, slow down there, Braveheart. So here's Chris, the Glasgow shop manager, and Adam, the social media manager. Be sure to like, subscribe, and let's do this.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to our live video.
Good evening, all.
I'm privy to the production side for the first time ever because of the way we're facing each other. We have Adam's computer here, and he pressed the wrong button for the intro, so his 30-second intro became 3 seconds when he realised what had happened.
For anyone watching it live, they just saw me a really gentle timer followed by an explosion.
So that was a great introduction. Welcome. I hope everybody out there is well and you're having a good time doing whatever it is you're doing. Tonight we're going to talk about, Adam, what are we talking about?
What is your proudest moment as a drummer?
Cool. So we will have a discussion about what our proudest moments are, but we would love it if you could tell us your proudest moments as well down below in any kind of commentary.
Yes, let us know, and I will do my best to read them out. Either myself or Chris will read them out. If you're listening back to this on the podcast, very sorry, but you've missed out. But still, let us know anyway.
Absolutely.
Drop us an email, drop us pigeon mail. You know, we accept it all.
Do you want to start?
No, you can. You can start, man.
We'll do like bits about. Maybe because I think I've got a couple of moments that I'm particularly proud of.
So we're kind of cheating here by saying what's your proudest moment, but I mean I know I'm cheating because I have a couple.
Right.
But
well,
I'll let you start.
There are a few that sort of sit on a par with each other for me.
Okay.
When I was at university in my 4th year, we had to write a lot of music, and
right.
I took
right. See what
indeed,
I did
there? I took all the music that I had written and I managed to make a record out of it. I collated enough music to make a kind of album from it. And I took it from nothing to fully finished product inside a year.
Oh, wow.
So, I wrote all the music. I assembled the Avengers to play it.
Nice.
I picked the band.
What instrument was Hawkeye playing?
Hawkeye was playing the... I don't know.
I mean, Hulk's obviously on drums.
Yeah,
that's
look
obvious.
at me. Look at the size of
Oh, okay.
It was my proudest moment because I was on the drums.
Okay,
Right.
Tony Stark's on synth.
Yeah, absolutely. Tony Stark is synth.
So I was Jarvis. Anyway, diversion.
Yeah. So I took it from nothing to fully fledged CD release inside a year, having written it, rehearsed it, performed it live a couple of times, and then for my final recital, the same band played that music for my final recital.
Was it jazz music?
It was kind of jazz rock.
Okay.
So it was like electric guitar, electric bass, saxophone, and drums. I don't know why you're going to laugh at that. I knew you were going to laugh at that, so that's why I'm laughing. And it was the only recital throughout my entire 4 years at college that I got an A for.
Okay.
And then I managed to actually take that music and make a fully fledged product. So I was really proud of that, having literally written all of it. Like I wrote bass lines and guitar lines and all the chord changes and all the saxophone stuff, all of that, and had to direct the band on what to play and how to play it and all that stuff. And they managed to take sort of my crazy brain musics and make it into music that sounded like actual music, you know. And that was pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that was pretty cool.
Do you reckon that was just unique to that experience, or do you reckon that's a moment that you could recreate, or, you know, what's your thoughts?
My thoughts are that it was unique in that we were forced to write music every week.
Right.
I had to come in with a new tune every week.
Okay.
Because it was in a composition class. So I had an assignment each week. So I would need to force that upon myself in order for me to do it, I think, you know, because it takes a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
And I wouldn't want to recreate the actual recording process.
Why?
Because we did it in 8 hours.
8 hours.
We recorded the whole album in 8 hours.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Because that was all the money I had. I had enough money to pay the musicians and this space that we were using, and that was all I had the budget for. Because I paid for it myself. So
Wow.
I paid all the players out. No smallest violins. That was all I had. So you make the most of what you have, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So
you're absolutely right.
that's why we had rehearsed it and performed it live. I think we performed all but 2 tunes that we recorded live. So at least the band knew what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
That 8 hours also included a lunch break.
Man's got to eat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I would never repeat that process again because that was difficult.
Yeah.
Stressful and
that
difficult.
just sounds like a car crash waiting to happen.
There were some car crashy moments, but you know the trickery with modern recording is that you get away with those car
Here we
crash
go.
moments.
Here we go.
'Cause it
Mr. Abbey Road here. Well,
No,
will
I'm
you
certainly not
sing
me.
it?
No, it was the guy who Gus did it. Was the guy who did it all.
Oh, cool.
Right,
Okay.
Gus was a student at the time, and he recorded it all as part of a project, and then we mixed it at his house. So he did all of it. So I certainly couldn't do anywhere near what he did. You know
That
so,
level of wizardry.
Oh, mate, Hogwarts level of wizardry. Just like he Expelliarmused a bunch of the mistakes, you know. So yeah, that was really proud. Like to actually go and pick up the CDs
Yeah.
and like people bought them and things. That was cool, man.
Yeah.
You know, that was cool to
Do
actually.
you think anyone still listens to it?
No, I don't. I don't even think it was given coaster status, man. Do you know what I mean? I think people probably listened to it once and like, you know, ejected it from the car and threw it out a moving open window.
Yeah.
You know,
Into someone else's car.
Yeah, it just kept going.
Yeah.
That whole process at
It's
land.
still going, actually.
It is
It's
at land.
actually now travelling through time.
Exactly. No, I don't think anybody listens to it ever again, and I think I've still got about 400.
Do you listen to it?
No, of course I don't. Do you listen to yourself? I think I've still got about
Sometimes.
485 of the 500 CDs that I pressed.
Wow.
You know, like CD companies that when they press them, they make you press them or they make you buy them in
Yeah, in
batches,
bulk,
you
yeah.
know. So
Can I have one?
absolutely, aye. Yeah,
Brilliant.
aye, and you can.
I'm moving into a new house, so I need coasters.
Right, okay. I'll give you 4.
Oh, brilliant.
Aye. See, what happens is that doubles up because you can use the actual CD as a coaster and the sleeve, so you get
So
2
it's
coasters.
2 for 1.
Two for-
What an offer.
Yeah.
Bet the
So
music sounds great.
I mean, it is what it is. You know, it is what it is.
I'm going to interrupt you here because Nathan Christie has said that his proudest moment of
Amy's just messaged to say we need 6. Thanks, Amy.
my fiance has
Aye.
messaged that we need 6 coasters. Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll take well, that means 12,
Okay.
doesn't it?
Yeah, doubles down. Aye.
Nathan Christie has said the day that my kit collection reached 5.
I mean,
So I would like to know what those kits are.
yeah,
I don't know
go
about
on,
you.
mate. Tell us what your kits
Tell
are.
us in the comments what your kits are, and if anyone else has a proud moment of being a drummer.
I mean, for some people, it could be literally the very first gig you played, and it's a total legitimate proud moment, you know, because I think that anybody that gets themselves off the couch and goes and does something should be proud of it.
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah,
You
I
know?
think as well, like the first time you sit in a studio,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it could be anything.
Yeah.
It could be absolutely anything.
So that was my first one. What was
Okay.
your first one?
I will tell you. So I have 2. I'm cheating, obviously, and obviously are you. Obviously are you. My first one is not necessarily like a big deal like that, going out to play a big gig or you know whatever. But my first one certainly is when I played a function gig, like maybe about a year or so, maybe 2 years ago.
Well, we've not done it for 18 months, so it's like two and a bit years ago,
Yeah.
probably.
Thanks.
It's okay. Just
Thanks.
you
The
know,
talking clock here.
keeping it real.
Reminding us all that we had. Anyway, so and played the gig. I can't remember where it was, but it was someone's wedding. And for whatever reason, that week prior to it, I just kind of I practice, but I don't practice very often.
Right.
And for that week leading up to it, I practiced like every day. Not practicing what we were going to play, but just sat in a room and actually played drums and practiced drums for a while. Anyway, so fast forward to the end of that gig, and the bass player, a gentleman called Fraser Snedden, so if he's watching, hi Fraser, he said to me, he's like, do you know, man, that's probably the best I've ever heard you play.
Mm-hmm.
And it really kind of struck me. Now, that could be taken as every other time I hear you, you're absolutely rotten. But, you know, I was like, oh, like that's the first time I've ever consciously thought, well, you know, practice kind of obviously does help, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that was I drove away from the gig feeling great. I was like, oh, this is amazing, like brilliant. It's a really nice feeling, and it was like, it wasn't saying it to like inflate my ego or anything. He was just, it was a genuine comment of just, you actually sounded like really tight tonight.
Yeah, I think
You know what I mean?
anytime anybody who's not a drummer tells you you did something well is validation. It's great.
For sure. I just felt like validated a little. Not validated, but it meant like, oh, well, there actually is purpose to practicing for those like 5 or so days before the gig.
And it's also nice that someone listened to you.
Yeah. I mean, he's a bass player, right? So he kind
but
of
like,
had
how
to.
many gigs have we played and we've tuned out of what people are doing?
Yeah.
Like, especially if it's a function gig and you've played the music 5 million times, and you're like not even listening to what people are doing.
Yeah.
I've seen guys play function gigs and watch the game.
Oh, like football?
Aye, yeah,
Oh, okay.
like iPad set up and just watching the football. So, it can be a thing where people check out because they've done it so much. So yeah, it's nice to know that on a gig like that, someone's actually listening to you and you're making a difference.
Yeah. I guess so, yeah. I never thought about it like that, but that was, for me, that was quite a proud moment, I thought.
Great.
What's your second one?
The second one is that I got to play Glasgow's Royal Concert Hall. And Glasgow's Royal Concert Hall is a bucket list venue.
Yeah. For those who don't know, for those who don't either live in Glasgow or for those who are not familiar with the glorious venue that is the Royal Concert Hall.
It's enormous. I think is it a 3,000 seater or something? I don't know. Maybe
It's big.
Yeah, it's big, and the stage is huge, and it's a proper sort of auditorium. It's not quite as big as others that are around. It's not the Albert Hall, but it's big, man, and it was a real legitimate gig. It wasn't like the council put something on. It was for, I can't even remember what the event was. It was like an equivalent, like for there's COP26 coming up, and it was something like that. There was some sort of event happening in the town, and I got called to play that room, and it was amazing. It was like getting to walk out onto that stage when there's actual paying public there and hearing them clap.
For sure.
It's pretty bonkers.
I've also played that room, but
Right.
it was more of a comical affair. I ended up, but it's you're right. When you walk out on that stage, it's fantastic. You just look out, and all of a sudden you look out and you're like, see all these eyes just staring at you, like, okay.
Aye. Well, I mean, it's a venue, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not playing down the pub. It's like, oh, we've got to actually be quite got to be professional tonight.
Yeah.
Do my
Suits and boots.
top button up.
Yeah.
If anyone has ever been to the venue, when you book a ticket or when you go to the box office, behind the cash desk, there's a picture of the venue from the stage. It's that someone has taken a landscape picture of the venue, and it's kind of like that when you walk out. It's enormous.
Yeah.
It's a really big room.
Because it's a very different perspective when you go and see a show, I think, when
Yeah.
you sit in the crowd of that venue, because I suppose it's like that in a lot of places, but everything doesn't seem as grand as what it is when you're on the stage.
Agreed, and it's even weirder. It was a jazz trio gig, which was even weirder, and I had fold back monitors for an 18-inch bass drum. So I was like, because it was mic'd, everything was mic'd up, and I needed to be able to hear the piano, and like the piano player was miles away, and the bass player was far away, and he was playing acoustic bass, so everything had to be sort of fed through a monitor. So I was playing like a jazz trio gig on this massive stage with proper production. It was amazing. It was great fun, and I don't think it'll be one that I sort of ever really forget.
No, I think like any amazing gig like that, you would never really forget. That would have tied into the last episode we did as well.
Yeah,
Gigs you'll never forget.
But that, gigs you'll never forget for me means gigs you've been to.
Oh, okay.
That's the way I looked at that.
Yeah.
Like gigs you've seen, rather
But it
than...
made you proud. It made you feel very proud.
Oh,
I would have thought.
yeah, that was one of the few where I'm like, oh, cool, I quite like this.
Yeah.
Like
This is fun.
Yeah, this is a bit more what it's about, I think, and it was kind of more creative, and it was a real gig.
Yeah.
I know they're not. I know they're all real gigs, but
For sure.
it's quite hard to sort of put it into words. But yeah, to walk out and onto that stage was amazing. It was funny as well.
Indeed.
Because it was an event. There was a school band had been brought over from America, and they were playing before we were. So there was this young guy, and it was a kit share. So it was just like beating the absolute hell out the drums, and everything had moved round about. So I had to like go onto the stage and discreetly like move the drums back into a sort of playable state.
Yeah.
And then count the band in, so it's like you kind of have to draw on a lot of experience of playing in places where you've had bad kits or, like, it's kind of like all your experience up to that point leads you to be able to play the gig, because it's not just about playing the tunes. The band had rehearsed and all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. It was all good. It was all rehearsed and stuff. But then there's things that you can't really account for. Like you can't. I didn't know until I got there that there was going to be a kit share and it was going to be a young 14-year-old boy leathering the shit out of a drum kit. Sorry for the language, but that was kind of what it was. That was how it happened. So like the hi-hat stand ended up way over there.
Yeah. And
I'm like having to get on the stage and look like I know what I'm doing and move drums to like, okay, so that, he's seating, his throne was like 10 feet high. And I've got
just like the unfavourable scenario.
Yeah, just like, and it's not in King Tut's but there's also not a crew to do it for me, so it was, but it still had everything that those gigs should have, It's amazing.
For sure. I'm going to jump in here because our Nathan has said his proudest moment as a drummer is the day I came close to mastering the Rosanna Shuffle. Wasn't bang on, but closely resembled it.
I mean, it is.
Nathan's a cracking player. Have you ever heard actually Nathan play? He's great.
And that's the groove to end all the grooves, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Nathan Christie's got back to us for anyone interested of all his drums that he owns. So there it is. It's on the screen now. But for those listening, if you want to know them all right, here we go. Premier APK, Gretsch Catalina Club and Black Widow, Pearl Export.
He's got two and two.
Oh, okay, 3 and 4 Pearl Export. Okay. My own custom creation kit. I'm really proud of it because I basically brought them all back from the dead. The only one I bought new was one of the Pearls. The rest I've put hours upon hours of work into, and I'm very proud of how they came out.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. You ever thought of, you are thinking about owning a custom kit maybe one day?
But I think by the sounds of it, he means that he's actually made it himself.
Oh, okay.
My own custom creation kit.
That's pretty cool.
So is Creation the brand? I'm not sure.
Mark Gibson says the proudest moment for him was the day's drum room was finished.
I've seen that drum room.
Have you seen it?
I have seen it. That is something to be proud of, Mark. It's fantastic.
And Kenny Irwin says, many years ago, I was lucky enough to get on the shortlist to audition for Simple Minds. Shameless name drop. That's amazing. Wow. Their sync for the click track wasn't working. I had to play along with the sequencers only. I had in one song, the sequencer dropped out for 16 bars. I was mega nervous as The Minds are one of my favourite bands. Anyway, I totally held the tempo for the 16 bars, and when the sequencer kicked back in, the rest of the guys all nodded and looked around at me and smiled. Tried not to grin.
I would have grinned, Kenny.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you nailed that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Have you got another one?
I do, and I actually forgot that I had another one, so I'll tell it very quickly. So I've told this story in the podcast very briefly before, and I'll tell it very briefly again. But basically, the originals band that I played in about 8 or 9 years ago, somehow, by sheer will, or whether we won the lottery or signed the contract with the devil or signed up for Squid Game, I don't know. But we ended up playing in the O2 Arena in London.
Oh wow, okay, cool. Yeah, like that's pretty rad.
It was pretty cool, and like, sorry to like see your concert hall and raise you, but that's a big room. That's a really big room.
Were there people in it?
Not many, I'll be honest. Not many people, but there were people.
Amazing.
So yeah, that was pretty rad. That was pretty cool, just being on that stage and knowing who's played on that stage, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And at the time I was still quite a young, like still pretty young in the whole drumming industry, I suppose, pretty young to all of it. Mm-hmm. So to be on that stage, like at that age, I was like, oh wow, this is pretty rad.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the first time you play King Tut's. When you walk up the stairs now on King Tut's, they've listed on the stairs all the bands that have played per year.
Yeah.
So like some of the names you see on that. Mm-hmm. That have played on that stage.
Do you think there's any names on that stage that they've just put for the sake of it and they've not actually played there? I often wonder this.
No, I don't think so, man.
No,
I don't think so. I think it's all pretty legitimate.
You think so?
Yeah, especially after Oasis got discovered there. I think a lot of people clambered to play there.
Yeah. I mean, it is like an initiation, like a little bit.
I mean,
if you play Glasgow, I think so. For sure.
Yeah, especially if you're Scottish.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's very different if you're a touring band coming up from down south and stuff. But if you're Scottish and you play in Glasgow a lot, kind of King Tut's is one that you have to kind of tick off.
Yeah.
I remember playing it as a younger man.
Back in your youth.
Absolutely. It's like 20 years ago now. And we would do things like we would run a bus up for people. We would put, like, you've got to sell your own tickets. So we would put the cost of the bus would be in the price of the ticket. So say that they wanted a £5 a ticket, King Tut's wanted a £5 a ticket, and you got £2.50 of that, and they got £2.50. We would charge people like £7, and that would get them their bus there and back.
Right. That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
That's
And they would get a night of music.
Night of music and a lift home.
Yeah, absolutely. What more
sure.
do you want? That means all your pals can drink and don't have to worry about who's going to drive and all that stuff, which was the secret weapon. Get them drunk enough that they can't remember how bad you are.
That's it. That's well, going to bring it full circle. That's exactly our mentality when we played at the O2 Arena. It was a multi-band bill, so it was like a competition type vibe.
Right.
It wasn't just our gig, and it was really embarrassing because we booked out the O2 Arena and no one turned up.
Amazing.
But it was a multi-band thing. And there was just like, it was one of those, like, there's like 20 bands on the bill.
Yeah.
And you're playing at 2:30 in the afternoon.
Excuse me.
And, yeah, it was pretty, what an experience.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think, there's been loads of cool things over the years. Like, successfully putting on clinics here is always something to be proud of. That's very different for us because it's not necessarily a moment as a drummer, but for the community and all that, getting great artists over and people telling you they had a great night is it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, man, for sure. And who knows, before the year's out, maybe we'll get another one in.
Yeah, we'll try our best.
Or the first one in a couple of years. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it was one year we did something like 7 or 8 in the whole year. And that was pretty rad, That's a lot of people, lot of great artists to bring over and sort of shout about and stuff,
Indeed.
Yeah, so there you
Indeed.
go. Any more takers on what is your proudest drumming moment
As a drummer.
Yeah.
What's your least proud moment as a drummer?
I mean,
mine would be that I fell off stage
right
at a festival.
Wow.
And it was a covers gig, and we were playing Proud Mary at the end, and there was drums there, and then all of a sudden there wasn't drums there,
right?
Because drummer me fell off the stage.
Wow.
Like the back leg of my drum throne collapsed because I was getting too into it, and I was loving life, like swinging. I had long hair at that point as well, so I was swinging about. It was like,
how big was the drop?
Like fairly sizable.
Man.
I actually wasn't that far. I'm making that out sound a lot bigger. It was like from like 10 stories. It was basically like if you've been in the Glasgow shop, see you like falling from the top of our stairwell to the bottom. Yeah.
The bit in the Matrix when he jumps and he falls all the way down, hits the floor and bounces back up.
Yeah.
That.
I wasn't as graceful as that. No.
I
was in. I should also mention I was in a kilt as well, so that really didn't help.
Legs akimbo.
Yeah. Thankfully, I was wearing underwear.
Briefs. I have turned up without my snare drum. I wasn't very proud of that.
I came across that photo recently, actually. Weirdly, I was looking back on our page because was it not a gig in air that you did and someone bailed you out?
So I've turned up without my snare drum twice. Neither time I'm proud of. Yeah. I've turned up without my snare drum twice. The first one happened to be in my hometown of Irvine. So thankfully there was a snare drum available to me. I happened to be at my sister's house. So
do you just keep drums at all your family members' house? Because if so, that's a great idea. I might start doing that.
I do now.
Yeah.
I do now. And then the second one, thankfully, was in Ayrshire again. But this time, I couldn't get a hold of the drum that I used the first time. So it was actually Gail, whose pal, bailed me out. A customer of ours called Sean Kelly happened to be at home. And he bailed me out and gave me a Gretsch full range 14 by 6.5 maple shell drum, which sounded amazing as well.
Yeah.
So that dug me out a major hole because that would have been a long night.
What a legend.
An absolute legend.
Yep.
So I bought him beer and reheaded his drum top and bottom, put new wires on it for him. Because he deserved it. So yeah, those I've not been particularly proud of. I don't think there's been anything else disastrous.
Nah.
I did have a pedal snap one night. I did have a pedal. a pedal
The Chris
change.
Whitehouse Chronicles here again.
And the keyboard player was trying to weld it. Well, not weld it, he was trying to solder it. He had a solder iron out and he was trying to sort of solder the two bits of metal back together, and it just kept melting all the metal, and it was
Wow.
pretty awful. And I didn't have a spare, but luckily
I bet you do now.
of course, spare
Yeah.
spring. We were in Edinburgh at the time, so somebody nicked to the jazz bar and got me a pedal because we kind of know the guys in there and stuff, you know. So, I wasn't proud.
Homeboy got connections.
Yeah, I wasn't proud of that though.
Nah.
I had to try and play. I was trying to play Love Machine using the floor tom.
Oh.
Do get, and it sounded awful, and I couldn't do it, and it was bad. So then, let's put some DJ music on.
Yeah.
So yeah, has Paul commented?
Paul's commented, but for some reason the comment has come up blank, as I will show you now.
Oh, well, maybe that's Paul's.
That's just his presence of saying
He's-
wrap it up.
Paul's least favorite moment is he doesn't have one.
Yeah. Or his proudest moment.
Perhaps he's got some good ones to shout about.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
He's got some good ones.
Maybe we'll get Paul on and we'll redo this.
Yeah.
And he'll tell us all his legendary rock and roll stories.
Indeed.
From the day.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening. Thanks
Mhm.
for tuning in. Thanks for submitting a story if you have done.
If you want to find us on the phone, 01414293799 for Glasgow, 01132442183 for Leeds.
If you want to email us, you can email us at info@drummersonly.co.uk, or if you need our Leeds store, leeds@drummersonly.co.uk.
At Drummers Only UK, rather, for all the socials, whether that be
Fail.
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. Yeah, at Drummers Only UK.
As I mentioned earlier on in this brief little podcast, we do have a podcast, Drummers Only Radio. We have recently just interviewed Matt Hector, or you just recently interviewed Matt Hector,
Yeah.
who is a drummer for Iggy Pop. So he's got a bunch of stuff going on. He's got, he's just recorded a new sample library with Toontrack, and he has plenty of good stories. So make sure you check it out. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts, or if you would rather watch it and watch him and Chris have a blether, it is on YouTube as well.
Yeah, so great stuff, guys. We are here all weekend in both branches. If you would like us, you've just found out where you can find us. And have yourself, Proudest podcast.
Very quickly before Paul goes, Proudest podcast, Todd Zuckerman,
yeah,
hands down.
I mean, yeah, Todd's up there.
Ash Sohn's up there as well.
Ash Sohn's up
for
there.
sure.
Oh no, Paul.
I feel like if this was a working thing, obviously Paul's trumps them all. Remember when we did the podcast with Paul? That was legendary.
Yeah, there's been some good ones, man. There's
Yeah.
been some really good ones. I really enjoyed John Tempesta. I thought,
what a legend John Tempesta is. What a legend.
Talking to John, it was like talking to an awesome
An
puppy.
old friend.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
brilliant. So there's been a few.
Yeah.
So
Gordon Ferguson was up there as well.
yeah, he's got some stories to tell.
He does. Obviously does. Cool.
So yeah, there you go. Thank you for watching all, and we will see you. We'll see you soon. You take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Drummers Only Radio.
You can find us online at www.drummersonly.co.uk.
Drop us a line. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Drummers Only UK.
Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. We're on Apple, Spotify and YouTube.
Any questions? info@drummersonly.co.uk is the email, or if you need leads, it's leads@drummersonly.co.uk.
Thanks again for listening.
And we'll see you next time.